You know that feeling, that moment when you look back and think, what if I had?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
maybe if only I hadn't. We all do that, right? That
Yeah.
kind of mental replay of choices.
Definitely.
And, well, the amazing thing is, our language actually has these, like, really specific tools for that,
Mm.
these really precise ways to talk about those very thoughts. So today, we're doing deep dive into exactly that. How these language tools let us, build different paths in our heads, talk about what we wish was happening now, or express really deep regrets.
Yeah.
It's about language, not just as, like, rules on a page, but as this engine for imagination, for reflection.
And what's so interesting, I think, is how structures that seem pretty simple on the surface, they let us express such complex, nuanced things.
Right.
We've got some great source material here that really breaks down how these work. We'll use some relatable examples, hopefully, to show not just what the grammar is, but, why it's so important in how we communicate every day, and even how we understand big historical events.
Okay. So, our mission today, to get you really comfortable with the third conditional, mixed conditionals, wishes, regrets, and that phrase should have or shouldn't have. You'll probably start noticing these everywhere after this.
Hope so.
So let's start with a situation that probably feels familiar to a lot of people. Simon, he bought a new car.
Ah, yes, Simon.
And, well, it pretty quickly turned into a bit of a nightmare for him. He's got this big bank loan now. Petrol costs are going up.
Mm,
It's just not working out.
a classic case of buyer's remorse, it sounds like.
Totally. And you hear him say things like, I should never have bought it.
Mm-hmm.
Just flat out.
Mm-hmm. Direct.
And also, if I'd bought a secondhand car, I wouldn't have taken out this big bank loan I've got now.
Right. Creating that alternative scenario.
And then later, this really hits home. I wish I had thought about the other costs before I bought it.
Yeah. And it's more than just, venting, isn't it?
How so?
Well, Simon's actively using language to build a different past. He's exploring what his life would be like right now if he'd chosen differently.
Oh.
And this whole situation, it's a perfect way in to understanding the grammar, the grammar of regret and those what-if moments.
So that sentence, if I'd bought a secondhand car, I wouldn't have taken out this big bank loan.
Hmm.
What's actually going on there, grammatically speaking? Is there a name for that structure?
Absolutely. That's a textbook example of the third conditional.
The third conditional, right?
And it's fascinating when you think about what it does. It's not just stringing words together. It's like our brain running a simulation, a counterfactual.
A counterfactual. Okay.
Yeah, we're mentally rewriting history, thinking about the result of something that didn't actually happen. It's key for regret, obviously, but also for planning, for empathy, even for looking back at history and seeing those turning points.
Okay, so how does it work? What's the pattern?
If you listen closely to Simon, if I'd bought, that's the if clause, and it's using the past perfect tense, had bought.
Okay, if plus past perfect.
Exactly. And then the result part, I wouldn't have taken out. That wouldn't have followed by the past participle, taken.
If plus past perfect, then would have plus past participle.
Got it. That's the blueprint. It's how we talk about a hypothetical past situation and its imagined past result.
And he uses it again, doesn't he, when he's talking about maybe waiting?
Yeah, he says, if I'd waited a bit before buying the car, I'd have managed to save quite a bit by now. Same structure.
Right. He even connects it to missing a college trip. And that line about his dad, if only I'd listened to him, none of this would have happened.
That if only is interesting. We'll come back to that. But sticking with the third conditional structure for a second,
Sure.
it's worth noting you don't always have to use would. You can use might or could in that result clause.
To show less certainty.
Exactly. So Simon might have said, if I'd saved more money, I might have gone on that college trip last week. It implies it was a possibility, maybe not a guaranteed outcome,
Yeah.
of that hypothetical past action.
That makes sense. It adds a layer of probability to the imagined past.
Precise. Okay, but what about when the timing gets tricky? Like, what if the if part is about the past, but the result is about now? How does that work?
Yes. Good question. That's where mixed conditionals come into play.
Mixed conditional.
Okay. They're basically used when the time in the if part is different from the time in the main result part. So they let us connect, say, a past action to a present result, or even a present situation to a past outcome.
So it bridges the timelines.
Exactly. It bridges the then and the now, or the now and the then, or even then and later.
Can you give an example, like from Simon's story?
Sure. Think about when he talks about his dad's advice on shares. He says, if I'd taken his advice, that's past perfect, a past condition.
Right.
I'd own a small fortune now instead of a big debt. The result, I'd own, refers to his present situation. So past if, present result.
Because he didn't take the advice back then, he's in debt now.
Perfect. That's a very common type of mixed conditional. Or you could have a present situation affecting a past action.
How would that work?
Well, remember his friend Anna says something like, if you got on better with him, his dad. Got on is simple past, but it refers to their present relationship, their general way of interacting.
Okay.
You might have listened to his suggestions. Might have listened refers to a past possibility, so present situation influencing a past action or lack of action.
Wow. That's quite flexible.
Hmm.
Does that cause confusion sometimes? Even for native speakers, getting those tenses right across different times.
It definitely can. That's a really good point. I think the most common slip-up is probably just defaulting to a standard conditional, like the second or third, when a mixed one is really needed to get the precise time connection across.
Right, like forcing it into one structure.
Yeah, or maybe mixing up the verb forms in the result clause. You know, using would plus infinitive when you need would have plus past participle, or vice versa, depending on whether the result is present or past.
I can see how that would happen.
But once you get the hang of it, it's incredibly useful. Think about linking past to future. If I hadn't broken my wrist past, I'd be playing tennis later future, or
Like-
future to present. If I wasn't meeting my manager later future arrangement, I'd be at the conference, now present, or even present to future. If I was at home in America present situation, I'd be seeing my mother tomorrow future. It just gives us that power to connect the dots across time.
Okay, that's clearer now. So beyond these what-if scenarios, what about just expressing wishes or regrets more directly?
Right. We often want to say what we wish were different right now or maybe in the future. For that, we tend to use wish followed by a past verb form.
Like Simon's friend Anna.
Exactly. She says, I wish I could help you. Could is the past form of can, but she's talking about her present inability to help.
And Simon wishing his dad wasn't always right.
Perfect example. I wish my father wasn't always right. Uses the past form wasn't, but it's about his present feeling of annoyance.
Okay, so wish plus past verb for present or future desires.
Hmm.
What about wanting things to happen or people to change?
For that, we often use wish plus the person or thing, then would, then the base form of the verb, the infinitive.
Okay, wish plus someone plus would plus verb.
Yes, like, I wish they would stop talking so loudly, or, I wish this holiday would go on forever. It expresses a desire for an action or a change in behavior.
Is there a catch?
Well, a small point is that we don't usually use this wish plus would structure with what we call state verbs.
Be verbs like be or no.
Exactly. Verbs that describe a state or condition, not really an action. So you probably wouldn't say, I wish I would know the answer. You'd just say, I wish I knew the answer, using that wish plus past verb pattern we just talked about.
Got it. So wish plus would is more for actions or behaviors we want to see change.
Right. And then for regrets about the past, things we wish had happened differently back then.
Let me guess. Wish plus the past perfect?
You got it. Wish plus the past perfect tense. Simon nails this when he says, I wish I'd thought about the other costs. He didn't think about them back then, and now he regrets it.
And he also said, I wish I'd never bought the car. Using never for emphasis.
Exactly. That never really underlines the strength of the regret about that past action.
And didn't we mention if only earlier? How does that fit in?
Right. If only works very similarly to wish in these regret contexts. You can often use it interchangeably. If only I had listened to my father. Same structure, if only plus past perfect.
Does it feel different from wish?
Sometimes, yeah, it can feel a bit more dramatic or maybe more emphatic. It really stresses that single point of regret.
Okay. So sometimes it's not just wishing, but really stating clearly that a past action or inaction was just wrong, a mistake.
Yes, and that's where should have and shouldn't have come in so strongly.
How does that structure work?
It's pretty straightforward. Should or shouldn't, then have, then the past participle of the main verb.
Shouldn't have plus past participle.
Yep.
And we use it to say that something that did happen was a bad idea, or something that didn't happen should have. It implies criticism of the past action, often self-criticism.
Like Simon saying, I should have listened to him.
Exactly, meaning I didn't listen, and that was a mistake. He regrets not listening.
And the big one, I should never have bought it.
Perfect. He did buy it, and he firmly believes now that buying it was the wrong decision. That never just adds extra force to the regret.
It's very direct, isn't it? There's no ambiguity about the feeling. It really points to the mistake.
Very direct. It acknowledges the error clearly.
Okay, we've talked about hypotheticals, regrets. What about situations where one thing completely depends on another? Like, this wouldn't be happening except for that.
Ah, another useful structure. We often use the phrase, if it wasn't for, or a bit more formally, if it weren't for, followed by a noun or noun phrase.
If it weren't for, okay.
It basically signals that the situation you're describing is entirely dependent on that thing you mentioned after for.
So how might Simon use that? He could definitely say, talking about his current money problems, if it weren't for the car, I'd have no money worries now.
So the car is the single reason for the worries in that statement.
Precisely. Without the car, the present situation, no money worries, would be true. It isolates the cause.
Can you use it for the past too?
Absolutely. You'd use the past perfect form. If it hadn't been for example, if it hadn't been for your advice, I would have made the wrong decision.
Okay, so that pinpoints the crucial factor that prevented a different past outcome.
Exactly. It's great for highlighting that critical dependency in these hypothetical chains of events.
So we've spent a lot of time with Simon and his car, which is really helpful and relatable. But how do these structures play out in, say, bigger stories, like history or science?
Oh, this is where it gets really powerful, I think. When you start applying these same structures to understand, well, how things came to be,
Right.
think about some famous scientific discoveries made partly by chance. Alexander Fleming and penicillin, for instance.
Okay, the moldy dish.
Right. We can describe that pivotal moment using the third conditional. If Fleming hadn't been cleaning the culture dishes, maybe a slightly different form there, past perfect continuous, but same idea.
Okay.
He wouldn't have seen mold growing on one of the plates. Without that specific mundane action in the past, the crucial observation wouldn't have happened then. The whole course of medicine could have been different.
Wow. It really highlights the contingency, doesn't it?
It really does. Or take Harold Ridley, the guy who developed intraocular lenses for cataracts.
Right, I know the name.
His breakthrough came from working with World War II pilots, so we can say. If Harold Ridley hadn't worked with RAF pilots during the war, he wouldn't have noticed the effects of perspex splinters in their eyes.
Because the perspex didn't cause inflammation.
Yeah, exactly. That observation, completely dependent on that specific past circumstance, led him to think perspex could be used inside the eye. And that led to lenses that have helped millions see again.
So using these conditionals helps us articulate those crucial what-if points in history and innovation.
Precisely. It shows that understanding these grammar points isn't just about, passing an English test. It's about being able to clearly express cause and effect, alternate possibilities, the very way events unfold or could have unfolded.
It really is the language of causality, of understanding how things connect.
Yeah.
So we started off with Simon's car troubles, which felt very real.
Mm-hmm.
And we've traveled through conditionals, wishes, regrets, all the way to these huge moments in science.
And I think what this deep dive really shows is that these aren't just dry rules. They're incredibly dynamic linguistic tools.
Right.
Tools that let us explore different realities in our minds, express really deep feelings like desire and disappointment, and trace those connections between events across time. They're fundamental to how we think counterfactually.
So thinking about all this, what's the main takeaway for you listening now? Well, maybe the next time you hear someone say, or even catch yourself thinking, if only I had, or I really should have done that, perhaps you'll recognize this specific linguistic machinery at work, under the surface, and maybe appreciate a bit more the complex human thought, the reflection, the regret, the learning that's being expressed.
Yeah, you start hearing them everywhere once you tune in.
It's surprising how much of our mental life and our conversation is actually spent navigating these what-ifs and if-only, wasn't it? Using language to constantly learn from the past and try to shape a better future. Definitely something to listen out for.